Welcome to Phil Wilson Chats with Celebrities. And here's your host, Phil Wilson.
Over 40 years ago, they told the world, you can dance if you want to, and the world listened. I Love the 80s is the new single from 80s iconic group Men Without Hats, famous for the hits Safety Dance and I Got the Message. With 8 studio albums under their belt and a world tour commencing, we are privileged to welcome Ivan of Men Without Hats to the show. Welcome to the show, Ivan. How are you doing?
Great. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you on the show there. Now, I was going to try and pronounce your surname, but I haven't. Is it Ivan Doroschuk?
Doroschuk.
Doroschuk.
Good Ukrainian.
There you go.
Yeah, good Ukrainian name.
Excellent. So there you go then. Yes, I didn't want to be rude and try and pronounce it, so you've done it yourself there. Excellent, Ivan. Now, Men Without Hats took the UK and the world by storm with the Safety Dance in the summer of 1983. But I believe the group was established in 1977 in Montreal, Canada, and had a different sound than what listeners are used to. Please, can you tell us about that?
Yeah, we started off as a punk rock band, all guitars and playing a lot of punk rock music, a lot of loud Ramones type music, and switched over in the early 80s, switched over to synthesizers. I'm a keyboard player by training. My mother was a music teacher, and I took piano lessons all my life. So when it came time to want to reach a broader audience, I wanted to reach a larger audience, and decided to go for pop music instead of punk music. So I switched over to the synthesizer. They were becoming affordable at the beginning of the 80s, so we made the move, and it served us well.
It certainly did as well. And I believe while you were in high school, you played together in a short-lived band called Wave 21 with your brothers Stefan and Colin. Now, what was that like, and what kind of music did you play then?
That was more sort of, it was more European, more kind of French. We grew up in French in Montreal. Right. We did all our schooling in French. And so we modeled our music off the French chansonnier. It was a bit of a Serge Gainsbourg trip. Piano music and a fellow reading poetry on top of it. So it was quite French.
Quite French. Was it like what they call lounge music?
It was a bit. It was quite different from what we finally ended up doing. So, but it was fun.
That's right. Well, of course, Telly Savalas did very well with that kind of thing, with his tune "If" when he was narrating over the top of some nice mellow music. Yeah.
No, it's worked for a lot of people. So we gave it our shot.
You gave it your best shot. Excellent. Now, on leaving school, did you and your brothers have any other jobs before going into the music business?
Yeah, well, we all went to university in Montreal, and while we were in university, Colin and I were working at the Montreal General Hospital. I was working the night shift in the emergency department of the Montreal General Hospital. So I got a lot of good ideas from that job. Let me tell you, it was quite a fascinating job. It really showed you what the real world is like, and it was downtown Montreal. It was quite interesting.
And did Stefan and Colin take up similar kind of roles?
Yeah, they were. It was a brother affair, a family affair, and Colin was also a classically trained pianist. Stefan played the violin. He switched over to bass, and also, I guess it was the four-stringed instrument that made the connection. But we played. Growing up till we played in a lot of cover bands. We played covering songs like Crosby, Stills and Nash and the Eagles. Wow. More of a country rock, country folk rock type of thing. James Taylor, that type of thing. So and we played at parties, mostly at parties. But it we came from a very musical background. Like I said, my mother was a musical teacher. My father was an amateur musician who played with his father in a band, playing barn dances in rural Manitoba on the prairies of Canada. You know, they would back up, you know, musicians that would come through town, and he played with people like Hank Williams and Hank Snow.
Amazing.
And yeah, so it was a very, very musical family.
Absolutely wonderful. Yes, I bet you that was a nice, interesting growing up there, especially with the tales that you know would come back to you, telling you who you've been performing with and such like.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We all practiced together. I mean, we had 2 pianos in the house, so Colin and I would be practicing piano at the same time, and Stefan would be practicing violin upstairs. My mom would be vacuuming. My dad would be watching TV, reading the newspaper. It was a bit like a John Cage performance going on there every night. So, it was,
yes, definitely entertainment going on there. Nice bit of entertainment in the house there, entertaining each other there. Now, for Stefan, Colin and yourself, did you have the same musical influences when you were growing up?
Pretty much. We grew up in the 70s. And it was, classic rock. It was the birth of heavy rock. And I was the oldest, so I sort of, developed my tastes a bit before them. But Colin and Stefan are the ones who turned me on to David Bowie and things like that, and Lou Reed. I was more into progressive rock. I was into bands like Genesis and Pink Floyd and Yes and King Crimson. Wow. And I was also into disco at the 70s. I was front and center of the disco movement. And I've always said that for me, 80s new wave was a combination of progressive rock and disco. It was synthesizer music you could dance to, and that's what I brought to the table. But it was quite a great era for music also, the 70s. I mean, I saw a lot of classic rock shows. I saw Pink Floyd Dark Side of the Moon tour. I saw the Who Quadrophenia. I saw Led Zeppelin touring Led Zeppelin 3. And I saw a lot of classic rock shows that really sort of formed my musical tastes and gave me a lot of inspiration.
Definitely. And yes, some great groups there, Genesis as well. I mean, they really went from one extreme to another, didn't they? As they went from the 70s into the 80s. And especially when Phil Collins took over from Peter Gabriel.
That was a source of great anxiety for me when Peter Gabriel left Genesis, I tell you. It was, I had a lot of sleepless nights over that one. But Phil Collins did a great job, and it all ended well. So, it's funny when these bands that you sort of cherish become hyper popular, and it's on one hand you like it because they're popular, but on the other hand, it was kind of your guarded secret. Genesis were always my best kept secret, and so it's kind of a double-edged sword.
It definitely is, yes. I wonder if the original fans followed on to the new wave there with Phil Collins there,
Yeah, I mean, I sort of listened. I kind of dropped off after, and then there were 3 when Steve Hackett left the band. I kind of went my own way because Peter Gabriel was doing some really interesting work too. So it was good. I mean, not that Genesis didn't continue to produce some superb pop music. I mean, but it was quite different from the band that started off.
Absolutely amazing. Yeah, some great bands there that you mentioned there, and artists as your influences and your brother's influences as well. Now, what instruments were you actually classically trained in? Because you were actually born in Champaign, Illinois.
It was the Champaign, Illinois. We were born. My dad was doing his master's degree and his PhD at the University of Illinois. But that's an interesting place too, because Champaign, the University of Illinois, is the birthplace of the internet.
Wow!
And so there was a lot going on there also. But we moved quite early to Montreal. My dad got a job teaching at the University of Montreal, so we all moved there. And like I said, my parents enrolled us in French school, so we grew up in French. And it was that was also what influenced my music too. It was, listening to French music, listening to all the, the classic French bands too, like I mentioned before, Serge Gainsbourg. But there was a lot of French sort of pop music that I listened to growing up, and also the Quebec music, the French Canadian music scene was sort of an industry on its own too. So there was a lot to listen on that side. So those influences really made us, kind of a bit, gave us our own kind of touch, gave us our own sound and sort of ideas. It was kind of a blend of all kinds of things. Montreal is a bit, people sort of refer to it as a bit of a slice of Europe in North America. So it's quite an interesting place to grow up, and it's quite close to New York City too. So we traveled a lot to New York City. That was where we started touring at the beginning. We were being so close to the States. We toured in the States early on. We were playing in New York and Boston, Chicago, Detroit, all the big American cities, and so it was fun. It was a lot of fun. It was a great era. The late 70s and the early 80s were kind of a fascinating era to grow up in. It was, a lot of new technology was happening. Video was brand new. Computers were starting to come into our life. Like I said before, synthesizers were starting to be affordable, so a lot more bands had synthesizers. And then there was the punk new wave movement, where you didn't really have to be a virtuoso, on your instrument. You just had to have a good idea. It was a real DIY kind of sentiment was going around in the artistic community, and a good idea was, was good enough. A good idea, a good hairdo, and some cool clothes, and you were on your way.
That's right, so, and it was. The technology obviously was great as well, because it had moved on. Because there's a gentleman that I spoke to quite a while back. He was actually in the Raw band. Remember the Raw band, Clouds Across the Moon? Well, of course, it was Richard Anthony Hewson who I spoke to, and he said he still uses the old-fashioned, like, loads and loads of equipment to make just like a sound, to make like a crunch sound on his songs. But then, of course, when you came about there. You could actually bring a keyboard or whatever on stage. It wasn't like having to have loads and loads of like different bits of technology to make just a few sounds.
Oh yeah, like Emerson, Lake and Palmer. Keith Emerson used to have 10 synthesizers on stage, and each one did one sound. And he had a different keyboard for every sound. And so the technology made it a lot simpler. I mean, it was easier. I mean, still tape machines in those days, but they were becoming more accessible, until computers finally came in and made it really accessible to people to make music. Yeah. But the video was also a big part in the success of Safety Dance. It was MTV was brand new, and back in those days they didn't have that many videos on their roster. There weren't that many videos to play, so we got massive rotation, and it really changed. It was a life changer, that one. It was I went from being an unknown Canadian musician to having problems walking down the street because people recognized me and were coming up to talk to me. So, but it was because of the massive rotation and the nature of the video too, the fact that Safety Dance was done in that medieval Pied Piper style. A lot of people were expecting me to be the sort of new wave John Travolta coming in there and teaching them how to do the Safety Dance. But so they were a bit thrown for a loop when I showed up in medieval garb and Morris dancers and a dwarf and sort of an old medieval English village and all that, maypole dancing. People still remember it today. That also served us well because it made the video kind of timeless. You can't really sort of pinpoint it. You can kind of watch 80s videos now and chuckle at the hairstyles and
Yeah.
zipper clothes and the neon colors and everything like that.
Yeah.
It's a bit sort of, it's a bit charming, but the Safety Dance video is, you can't really put a timeline on it. You can't put a time frame on it. It could have been done recently. It's like watching a Western, you can't really tell when it was produced. So
no,
it's good. It added to the longevity of the song and the band, allowed us to cross generations. It was good.
Definitely. And yes, it's still getting high rotation now as well, on the radio across the world as well, with the Safety Dance there. Now, you've probably been asked this a billion times, but I'm going to ask it in any case. The name of the group, Men Without Hats, there's a story behind it. Please, can you tell listeners and viewers about it who don't know about it and who haven't read Wikipedia?
Yeah, well, my brothers and I, like I said, grew up in Montreal, and the Montreal winters are extremely harsh and they're long, but we always refused to wear headgear in the winter. We had a saying that real men don't wear hats, and we went out in the cold without too much to our mother's dismay. We went out without any toques or any kind of bonnets, nothing. And so that's where the name of the band came from. Real men don't wear hats in the cold Montreal winters.
Excellent. Well, where I'm from, you see, in Newcastle upon Tyne, there should be a group called Men Without Coats, because if you go out to the nightclubs and things wearing a coat here in the northeast of England, they'd like look at you strange. So we're the men and the ladies and gentlemen without coats.
Yeah. There's been a lot of fun with the name too. It's been great because there's been men without all kinds of things, and
yes,
men without pants, men with their just all kinds, which is great. That's what we like. We like to hear.
Yeah. Absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. Now, the group's first recording to be released was the 1980s EP Folk of the 80s. And at this point, the band had changed styles from punk to new wave. What made your decision to change direction?
It was mostly the desire to reach more people. I realized that punk music was kind of a niche market and not everybody could appreciate it, but there was a large audience for pop music, and we, like a lot of other bands in the 80s, realized that pop music was a great platform. It was a very strong platform to get your message across, and we tried to get a somewhat serious message across, but in a happy way, in a danceable way. It's like Robert Fripp said, it's you're voting with your feet, it's kind of that deal there. So that's what we did. We switched over, and the 80s were, bring back a lot of good memories for a lot of people, but there was a lot of opposition to the status quo. It was the Reagan Thatcher years. So there was, that's what gave the birth to punk rock. It was that opposition to the establishment. It was a continuation a bit of the 60s protests and stuff like that. So a lot of bands had somewhat serious messages, but they were passing them across on pop radio, getting their message heard on pop radio, which was, you hadn't heard that since Bob Dylan. So it was kind of, that's what people were trying to do. I think they were trying to say something serious, and that's what Safety Dance was all about. It was all about marching to your own beat, doing your own thing, and not following the crowd necessarily if you don't feel it's right. Just stay true to your heart. And I think that's added to the longevity of the band also, and of the song, is that people today, this new generation, especially in this era of social media where there's a lot of peer pressure to conform and follow the crowd, people still need to hear that they can dance if they want to, that they can leave their friends behind if their friends don't dance. And it's kind of, we were lucky to touch upon a sort of a universal message that people still, I think, feel the need to hear. It was the same thing with Pop Goes the World, which was another sort of, it was kind of the follow up to Safety Dance. And Pop Goes the World, it was written back in the it was the beginning of the green movement. The message for Pop Goes the World was, if we don't stop, treating Mother Earth the way we're treating her, she's going to blow up. And so these concerns are still on people's minds today. And like I say, it's helped us cross the generations and speak to a new audience. And that's, it's fun, because now when we play live, we see our original fans are there to see us, but they bring their kids, sometimes even their grandkids.
Yes.
So it's a family affair, and we're fortunate that those songs were able to embed themselves in popular culture, thanks to shows like The Simpsons and Family Guy, and even shows like Glee. Glee, the TV show, brought our music to a whole new generation of listeners. So we were quite fortunate in that aspect, that we've sort of we've been adopted by popular culture, by movies and advertisements on TV. They're still using the music. Pop Goes the World is a soccer chant in South America, parts of Europe and Asia. So it's really cool. It permits us to still go out there and play. I put the band back together 15 years ago, and we've been visiting more places than we did the first time around. We've been all around the world now, and the first time we didn't get that chance, and so we're getting the chance to meet all our old fans, to touch base and see the smiles on their faces. It's great. It's awesome. Really awesome.
Yes, and you're about to go on. You've begun a tour already, which we're going to talk about in a moment from now. But we're going to stick back in the 80s there, because in 1982, Men Without Hats recorded a full-length debut album, Rhythm of Youth, which first enjoyed success in Canada with the Safety Dance, which peaked at number 11 in May 1983. And the song soon charted in the United States, spending 4 weeks at number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100. And it was a major hit on the UK singles chart, peaking as high as number 6 and number 1 in South Africa. Now, what was it like for Men Without Hats appearing on Top of the Pops, and can you remember who you were on with?
I don't remember exactly who we were on with. It was quite a while ago. But one of the things that really changed the game for us was the 12-inch remix of Safety Dance.
Yeah.
And we were actually in studio recording the follow-up album, and we got a call from the record company saying that we had to make a 12-inch remix, that was the new thing. All the bands were doing it, so we had to do it. So we recorded a 12-inch, sent it off to the company, and went back to recording our follow-up record. And the 12-inch actually hit number 1 on the Billboard dance charts. So that really was a game changer. And we were yanked out of studio, put on a tour bus, and sent off to promote it for the next couple of years. But it did well. It did well, and it wasn't even our first single. It wasn't our first choice of a single. I must admit, when you're a young songwriter, you think that everything you write is destined for glory and stardom.
Yes.
And you can't understand why people aren't lining up to throw money at you. But we were caught by surprise. We were, because we were in studio recording the follow-up album, and we were just stoked that we were in studio making another record. We were over the moon with just that the record company had just, thought we'd done well enough to put us back into studio. And we thought that was great. We thought we'd made it. So it was quite exciting times.
And what was it like, being amongst an array of now iconic groups at the time? At the time they were starting off as well, really, who were stars in the UK Top 40 singles chart in the UK, such as Culture Club, which was actually at number 1 when you were there at number 6. Billy Joel, also Lionel Richie, and of course Duran Duran, to name but a few. How did the group take this when they were seeing themselves in the US and the UK charts and such like, and going, my goodness, amazing?
Well, it was quite different from now. Like I likened it back then to being kind of like on a sports team, being on a football team or a hockey team. You travel around the country. You're competing with other bands. You're competing for chart positions. You're competing for venues in the different cities. You're competing for room in the press. You're competing for record labels attention. You're competing for the fans attention. You know, so there's a lot of competition that goes on. It's actually it's not easy sometimes. Nowadays it's a different story. We're out there with all kinds of people touring on a circuit where we run into a lot of 80s bands. We tour a lot with the Flock of Seagulls, for example.
Wow.
With bands like Wang Chung. The first tour we did when I put the band back on the road was with the Human League, with B-52s, just all the bands that like Human League, for example, was one of the reasons why I decided to form a band. You know, so they were
amazing.
They were an inspiration for me. So to get a chance to go on the road and share stages with these people is great. Thomas Dolby, we did a big tour with Thomas Dolby last summer with Tom Bailey of the Thompson Twins, who we're going to be playing with again in September. So it's great, and to differentiate it from back in the 80s, there's no competition now. All the work's been done. Nobody's out there to pay the rent. Really, we're out there to have fun and to touch base with all our old fans, and just play the music that they grew up listening and that they love. And you know, we're all very, very fortunate that they're still listening to it. We're able to go there and play it for them. So it's great. In the case of Safety Dance, I mean, Safety Dance is even sometimes I think it doesn't even belong to us anymore. It belongs to everybody out there. And I'm just a museum curator traveling around the planet, presenting this musical artifact to people that, you know, brings them immense joy, you know. So it's great. I mean, people often ask me if I ever get sick of playing it. I definitely don't. I have more fun playing it every time. It's just the smile that it brings on people's faces every single time we play Safety Dance or Pop Goes the World. You can't even describe it. It's really amazing.
It's wonderful. And we're going to be talking about putting smiles on people's faces soon with your brand new single, which we're going to talk about soon. Now, continuing on with the story there in the 80s there, Men Without Hats released the album Folk of the 80s Part 3 in 1984, while the lead single Where Do the Boys Go was a top 40 hit in Canada. The album failed to match the international success of Rhythm of Youth. What do you think affected the success of the album? Was it promotion or?
Oh, there's a lot of different things. It's the industry is a funny beast, you know. It's there's a lot of different stories. It was promotion. It was people, you know. There used to be a section in the Billboard magazine called the Executive Turntable, which with how, you know, telling which executives had changed from what label to which label. So you know, a lot of bands went through this. You'd spend your time developing a rapport with a person at the record company, and all of a sudden they weren't there anymore, and somebody new sitting in their desk, and sometimes you became a hot potato. You know, they were reluctant to work with the project of their predecessors' projects and stuff like that. So I mean, there was all kinds of reasons. There was the labels wanted Son of Safety Dance. They wanted the return of Safety Dance. They wanted Beneath the Planet of the Safety Dance. You know, so it's hard to sometimes follow up like when you have a huge smash hit like that right out of the box. It can be daunting to do a follow-up to it. It took us until Pop Goes the World to break through in North America again with another single that had sort of the same type of appeal and impact that Safety Dance had. So it's a learning process. I mean, it's just we're fortunate enough to have, you know, the people like the songs that they did. So it's great.
Yeah.
Some bands, I got into this business because I'm a music fan myself, and I go back on the internet now, and I like to sort of, digitally crate dig,
Yes.
dig through the bands that I used to like to listen to, but also dig through, discover the bands that I missed. And I realize how many bands out there that never got the chance to be heard. And when you realize, when you're a musician in a band, and you realize how much it takes to be in a band, you put your heart, your soul, you put your bank account, your family, or everything goes into it, And so when it works, it's great, but when it doesn't, it's tough. And it's like major league sports, for the 500 people that play in the professional leagues, there's 500,000 million that don't make it, and there's a lot of unfulfilled dreams out there, and so I realized that, and I'm very thankful for having been, given the chance for people to hear my music, and that even more fortunate that people are still listening to my music. So it's great. It's as a fan, I can really appreciate that, because like I say, there's a lot of bands out there that didn't make it. You remember the ones that did, but nobody remembers the ones that did. So it's hard sometimes.
It is. But yes, there is something that's come good out of the internet, that you're able to look up your bands that you've missed out on. But there's also some bad stuff on there as well. But the music's fabulous. I love it as well.
Yeah,
now, Men Without Hats has never stopped recording or touring, appearing at the Regeneration Tour, also Totally 80s and the Abducted by the 80s tour. What has been the most memorable gig you've performed so far as Men Without Hats?
Oh, there's a couple. There's a few, but one of the ones recently was playing at the Montreal Jazz Festival in front of
wow, amazing,
100,000 people, and it was a great honor to be asked to perform there. It's quite a prestigious sort of festival in North America, and so we were happy to be invited. But like I say, the first tour coming back with the Human League was also, I was quite honored to have been asked to do that too. Phil Oakey is a great guy, and just to be able to meet, that's one of the perks of my business too. I get to meet my musical heroes too. So it's great. But no, the shows are great. We've done some great tours and made some great friends, reconnected with some great fans, and it's been quite a journey, and I'm glad it's still going on.
That's right, it certainly is, yes. And it's we're going to be rolling on with information about your tour in a moment from now. But what was it like appearing with other stars and groups from the 80s? And are there any funny stories you can tell us about when you've been on tour, over the decades? Oh,
there's all kinds of funny stories. And there's just great moments, one of the fun things that we do now is they have 80s cruises.
Yes.
And, so they'll have a dozen bands go out on a cruise ship, and the last one we did was touring the Bahamas and Jamaica and
lovely.
That, and I got to join the English Beat on stage for a couple of songs.
Great.
So that was a lot of fun. But just it's a great opportunity. It's just because you're in close quarters with the fans and with the other musicians too. So Howard Jones was on that one. We've toured a lot with Howard.
Wow, great.
Howard's been great. Howard is an amazing human being, and he's an amazing musician, and the crowds love him. He really represents 80s music. the good things about 80s music, what people remember. 80s music had a lot of great songs and a lot of great melodies. You know, I'm a big fan of rap music, but like I like to say, I don't know how many Eminem songs we're going to be singing around the campfire 20 years.
Right, exactly, yes.
But the 80s had so many great melodies and sing-alongs. And Howard, for example, when we do shows with him, I go out and watch him, and the whole crowd sings through practically his whole set. They know every word,
amazing.
and it's like just like an hour-long sing-along with Howard. You know, it's really, really amazing. He has such an amazing work ethic too. He's puts his whole life into it, and it's just amazing to watch the man do his craft. I've learned a lot off him over the years, touring with him and listening to his music and watching him perform and just watching him, how he carries himself throughout the day when we're on tour. It's just quite amazing. And like I say, I've learned quite a bit. So it's great. It's great to still be able to learn stuff, and that's what makes this business so interesting. It's always changing. So there's always new things to learn. There's always new technology coming around the corner, and so it's never set in stone. It's always evolving. There's always new fun to be had. So it's great.
Yeah. Yeah, and Howard Jones, yes, I have heard he's very, 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 very good with his music and things. He does like collaborations with people. There's a lady I spoke to, Rachel Sage, did a single with her, and he seems to have a lot of time for people and things, and like educating people with his talent as well. You know.
You know, it's great. After every show, after every night, we'd have sort of a cigar smoking circle, you know.
Oh, lush, excellent.
outside, you know, and we'd have the outside by the tour buses, circle the tour buses, and have a little cigar smoke. And it was great. He has a really good family attitude about the whole thing. It's really nice.
Excellent. Yes, I'll have to try and get him on the show one day, hopefully. Now, Men Without Huts are now proud to present the new single, I Love the 80s. Please, can you tell us about the single and how you came about writing it, Ivan?
Well, I wanted to do a tribute to that era that, like I said before, brings a lot of really great memories to people. It was an era that was new. There was new, like I said, new technology. There was new videos, new movies, new music, new clothing, art. It was all across the board. It was a kind of a breath of fresh air. The 70s kind of ended with in a sort of a dinosaur, classic rock, disco kind of, I don't know what to call it even, but the 80s came around, and just it was a breath of fresh air, and it was focused on the youth. It was a decade that was focused on the youth, with all the movies like The Breakfast Club and Ferris Bueller's Day Off and all, you know, St. Elmo's Fire, all these movies.
Yeah,
Pretty in Pink. Yeah, really iconic sort of youth movies, and it's just brings a lot of good memories to people, and I wanted to do a tribute to it. It was like I say in the song, it's the decade that made me. And I think the hardest part about writing that song was narrowing it down to 3 minutes 30 seconds for radio, because we had so many 80s references that we wanted to stick in there that the song could have been about 3 hours long. But it was fun. It was also fun doing the video too. The video was a real hoot. I hadn't done a video for 40 years, so it was great to get back into it. It was a lot of fun. It brought back a lot of great memories for me too. So, but people are enjoying it. People are loving it. So it's awesome. But it was basically a tribute to that era, a great era in music, and an era that's still continuing. I still hear 80s influences in contemporary pop music today. You know, that's one of the reasons why the 80s is still trending upwards, is that you listen to a lot of pop music from the young people today, and it's got the big 80s drum sound, it's got synthesizers, it's got robot voices, it's got everything. So it's good. It's helped us. It's one of the reasons why we go out there now and we see young faces in the crowd. It's not only our original fans that are there to see us. We see a lot of young fans who are, discovering the music. A lot of people also grew up with their parents listening to this music too, and it's one of the first decades where the music really sort of was passed along. I didn't grow up my parents listened to Frank Sinatra, but I did it meant nothing to me.
Yeah.
But kids who grew up with the 80s, with their parents listening to 80s music, seem to appreciate it a lot more. They sort of, they'll be playing it for their kids, I bet. So it's good.
That's right. Well, currently, at the moment, sorry to interrupt that. What it is now, as you see, is that all of the stuff was actually on maybe a vinyl, you see. So it means that now, kids will be, because they're all into the vinyl, you see. It's all the vinyl revival, you see. So your single will be passed down the line. So music's never going to die if it's on vinyl.
No, I think, and I think that too. I think people, it'll come back even stronger, I think, because I think people will realize that they need to see the fruit of their labors.
Yes.
They don't want to work all day and then have their record collection in the clouds somewhere. They want to be able to look at the wall. People still want to be able to look at the wall and see their collection of videos.
That's right. Yeah.
Books and records and all kinds of things. And I think we've taken away from the people having everything digital and in the cloud, like I said, and just invisible. One of my biggest joys was listening to vinyl records and, reading the lyrics and looking at the artwork.
Of course, yes, the album art and all that and all the stories and who produced that and who played the drums on that. And
now it's so immediate. You can get online and find out what your favorite artist had for breakfast that day, so
that's right.
A bit of the mystery has been lost. So I think that also is unfortunate. When I got into Peter Gabriel, I got into Peter Gabriel and Genesis because I saw a picture of Peter Gabriel in Cream magazine. I saw a little picture of him on a page with bat wings on his head.
Wow.
That just made me I was just struck something in me. Yeah, I was just so fascinated with that image. And I didn't get to hear the music till, almost a year later. A friend of mine came back from Europe and brought the Foxtrot album with him. Said, "Hey, that band, Genesis, check it out." So from that little picture to, listening to the vinyl a year later, all kinds of, I had conjured up all kinds of different scenarios in my head about who this guy was and what the music sounded like, and was I ever going to hear it? It was just, the mystery just grew and grew and grew. And so when it finally sort of happened, it was amazing. Wow. It was amazing. So I think the mystery we need to bring a bit more of the mystery back into music. I think it's going to come too. I think people are going to realize that, social media is a good thing, but mystery is also a good thing too. So
definitely
it's sometimes it's also good not to know everything.
That's right. But it's good that somebody had the idea of getting, let's bring back the vinyl. Because when that vinyl stopped, I think it was about 2003, as far as my mind thinks, or maybe 2005, records started drying up. Then all of a sudden, everything started coming back. So when I started my Phil Wilson's Vinyl Revival radio show, which will be 10 years old next year, I could feel that something was happening. And now it's like, whoa, it's took off like I don't know what, the vinyl.
Definitely.
Amazing, amazing it is.
It's the sound too. There's a warmth to it. There's a warmth to the sort of analog technology that it's undeniable.
Yeah,
digital is great,
artwork.
But it's a whole different thing too. So I'm glad that people are getting back into it. It was a great art form, and I'm glad it's coming back.
Yeah, it's fabulous. I'm going to try and have to track down a copy of your album there from the 80s there. See if I can find that somewhere. It's probably worth a mint.
Yeah, we just put out a vinyl. We just put out a live record
Right.
at the beginning of the year. So we have Men Without Hats live on vinyl, and it's doing quite well too. People are enjoying it. It's great.
Oh, that'd be lovely. If you're able to send us a copy with a little swiggle on, that'd be lovely, and we'll put that on the vinyl revival show. Now we're going to
Will
go.
do.
That's excellent. Thank you very much. Now we're going to go bang up to date now, and you're currently on tour across the UK, Europe, Canada, America, and Mexico. Where can listeners follow you and get tickets for your gigs?
They can follow us on safetydance.com. That's one-stop shopping for all things Men Without Hats. You have tour dates, there's merch, there's vinyl, digital, streaming, tickets, tour, everything's there. Safetydance.com.
Excellent, excellent. So yes, get yourself along there right now. Now the vinyl revival is here, so I must ask you, what was the first vinyl record you ever bought, Ivan, and which song would you play me off a record as your favourite if you had a turntable aside you right now?
The first record I actually bought was Burnt Weenie Sandwich by Frank Zappa and the Mothers of Invention.
Wow,
And,
great. I love it.
But if I had to play you a song off a vinyl right now, I'd probably play Heart of Glass by Blondie.
Excellent.
Because
choice.
that was probably the first new wave song that I heard that I realized that there was something new happening. There was something new in the air, and there was a new musical movement was about to explode. It was that song.
That's an excellent choice there, Ivan. Thank you very much. Well, stick around for a moment because unfortunately we've run out of time. But if you stick around for a moment, we'll have a little bit of a chat afterwards. But I'd just love to say thank you so much, Ivan, for joining us on the show this week. It's been such a privilege. And would you like to come on the show again? Have I frightened you away?
Oh, definitely. Anytime.
Excellent, Ivan. Well, I'd like to say thank you so much for joining me once again. And finally, Ivan, please can you introduce your latest single from Men Without Hats, I Love the 80s.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. This is Ivan from Men Without Hats, and this is our new single, I Love the 80s.
That's fabulous. Thank you so much, Ivan. All the best for the tour, and we'll catch up with you again soon.
Thank you very much.